Hi, good evening, and welcome to the ZP Vlogging Podcast. We like to do a vlogging podcast just once a week, and it's really just to kind of wrap up from the news, or wrap up on the news from Zimmer Peacock for this week. So today's the 9th of June 2024, and I'll basically jump straight into it. In fact, we did do a webinar this morning. These are technical webinars. I think this one was actually quite highly technical, actually. We did sort of 4 questions. One of them was about pH sensing and oxygen sensing, and the person who asked the question actually attended as well, which was kind of nice. So they were actually able to have a real-time interaction with me. They wanted to do it in quite shallow water. Now, shallow water does really help because actually you can get the signal out easier. But that said, I mean, when you're trying to measure pH and oxygen in salt water, basically in the sea, that's really quite tough. I mean, you've got the chemical corrosion, you've got the mechanical the sort of power of the sea. You've got the fact that people don't want to be getting in there to do calibration, and things like pH sensors do have a lot of drift. So we did cover that in our webinar today. And as I say, it was nice that the guy who was asking the question was there as well. Had a nice question from somebody on redox enzyme systems. So I don't think we sometimes appreciate that actually. People do find the YouTube material quite useful. This gentleman was basically, his instincts were correct that he had an enzyme system where had one enzyme, he had a substrate that was reacting with an enzyme. The enzyme was reacting with another enzyme. That enzyme was reacting with ferricyanide, or at least it was thinking it was meant to be, and he was applying a potential. And his own instincts and probably his own reasoning had made him concerned that in fact he was just using the wrong potential. And I was able to say, yes, I think you are using the wrong potential, because I remember going through similar brain gymnastics when I was starting my career, at least my industrial career in 2020. So I remember exactly having the thoughts that he was having, but that was unfortunately 24 years ago for me. Not So I was able to actually understand A, where he was coming from, B, what the question was, and C, confirm that he was right. And I did illustrate it with some nice kind of sketches as well. Somebody else was asking about sensors for NT-proBNP. I appreciate some of you listen to this as a podcast, so it's not going to be obvious to you, but at Zimmer and Peacock, now the reason I mention this is because we don't have a sensor for NT-proBNP. NT-proBNP, by the means, stands for the sort of amino terminal of this protein called proBNP. But this is actually a cardiovascular, it's a biomarker for cardiovascular disease. So we are interested in cardiovascular. We don't have this particular sensor. We are capable of developing it. But I was able to also talk about the Sensi-All platform. These guys are probably going to end up doing some sort of aptamer or antibody type assay. And I was able to kind of say, the Sensi-All platform is able to kind of go between being an educational kit. So you're in the lab, you need to learn electrochemistry. It works perfectly well for educational, but you could then also use it in your research. So these guys will probably end up doing, I suspect, EIS or square wave voltammetry or something along those lines. And maybe they'll even want to go to being, not maybe, I suspect they will. They want to go to do an actual product. And so even though I didn't have the sensor for them, we do have a technology stack at Zimmer Peacock called Sensi-All, and I was able to kind of illustrate to these people actually that Sensi-All platform could probably, using our sort of series of QR codes, we can actually end up being part of their sort of product development. So I hope that was kind of interesting and useful to them today. And then we also had a lactate question, and I will come to that lactate question in a bit. In fact, I've got the lactate sensors here, but they're just about a meter out of reach from me. But I won't interrupt just to go and grab those. Let me go forward a little bit. We did do a webinar this week. I think it was really talking about the fusion between the semiconductor industry and the biosensor industry. And that fusion, that I think semiconductors lead to electronics lead to instruments lead to, let's say, potentiostats of what we use at Zimmer and Peacock. So there's definitely this connection, and I think I'll put my hand on it, in any part of science or engineering these days, obviously electronics is a big thing, but there's a definite fusion between the kind of technology that we're interested at Zimmer and Peacock and and electronics. I'd actually say that electrochemistry is one of the purest sciences between the electronics industry and the world of biology, and the world of chemistry. Now, the reason I say that is A, I'm biased, but B, because it's in the name. We live in a world of chemistry, biochemistry, and biology. That is the world we live in. What's the science that at Zimmer Peacock we practice? It's called electrochemistry. Now, electro or electronics is, a lot of tech. If we're going to talk about AI, we're going to talk about Bluetooth, we're going to talk about smartphones. This is all, the conduits for that data or the actual hardware that tech is using is electronics. I feel like electrochemistry is a really, really good science, right at the junction between the world that we live in, the bags of water and electrolytes that we are, and the world that actually we work in, which is obviously a very sort of digital world these days. So I like electrochemistry, and I think it's a really good science between the data that we require, that we need about ourselves to know our own health or to know the nature in which we're living, and the world of electronics where we live and we deal with data. So we did do a webinar about the fusion between these two industries this week, and it was well attended, and we did appreciate people coming to that. Something that we're really getting into as well at the moment is we are already sort of into it. We've had this SensiAll platform for a while now. So Food Sense Generation 4 is something that you'll hear me talk about, and it's about testing capsaicin, and it can test on really quick to prepare samples, and somebody gets a result immediately and the results go to the phone. Now we call that Food Sense Generation 4, but really it runs on a ZP platform that we would call SensiAll. And the SensiAll platform is about sensors to API, sensors to application program interface. So now, as part of kind of finishing off this, let's say, product portfolio, we've opened up the research and educational side of this instrument as well now. So what I mean by that is we've got these series of QR codes. One of them is for electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, so you can scan the QR code from the smartphone and the device is ready to run impedance spectroscopy. You can scan a QR code from the device and you're ready to do square wave voltammetry. You can scan a QR code from the device and you're ready to run linear sweep voltammetry. You can scan a QR code using the app and you'll get open circuit potential. You can scan a QR code and you'll get cyclic voltammetry, and you can scan a QR code and you will get amperometry. So it's really quite a powerful device, and now I think we're truly starting to unlock this whole roadmap. I think what you look at when Zimmer and Peacock is, in the very early days, we said statements, and this paragraph is still on our website today, that ZP is part of the Internet of Things revolution. So Internet of Things revolution now has expanded to include cloud connectivity. Okay, so we're part of the Internet of Things revolution. And we also were part of, and I made videos about this years ago, about translating or commercializing academic research. And bang, SensiAll, which you can use to do cyclic voltammetry. So you can, for example, scan cyclic voltammetry on this QR code system that we have, and then you can scan chili or ginger, and actually that becomes a product then. So we're very good. I think we're one of the few companies that has a really good technology stack from taking a voltammetry experiment in the lab and actually turning it into a product, let's say, literally on the market, because that's what we've actually done. So delighted to launch that new educational PotentioStat capability of the SensiAll platform as well. Something else really good, we got a very good distributor in Indonesia. One of their founders actually I would describe him as an analytical scientist. He's doing his PhD these days in Australia, but they have a strong background in their science, and especially their analytical sciences, and actually they did some work with a client in Indonesia. They sent us the data, and I was able to kind of comment. I mean, I did some analysis, but they did all the work, so I think it would be a bit plagiaristic of me to say that I did the work. They did the work, I did the comment. But there we are. I suppose that's what completes the loop. Sense It All now has an educational capacity, so you can do open circuit potential, voltammetry, impedance spectroscopy, amperometry, and lo and behold, people are actually using that technology stack to actually do real world applications, like measuring the hotness of oleoresins. And just for your interest, I instinctively knew what the word oleo would mean, because I think we used to call them oleums. I am actually too young to really be using that word oleum, but I'm pretty sure that alkenes, which are double bonds in chemistry, for some reason they were called oleums at some point, or something along those olefins. My apologies. They were called olefins. So these oleoresins, I knew they were kind of some sort of tarry material, and so people in the spices industry extract the actives. For example, in chilies it would be capsaicin. They extract the organic solvents, they distill off the organic solvent, and they're left with this black tar. And they were trying to test that. And these black tars are sort of something like 5 to 20x more, let's say, concentrated in capsaicin than the incoming material, which makes sense because you're really condensing it all right down. So we commented on their data, and that was pretty interesting work that they had done. We put together a page this week because we do get a lot of questions about our lactate sensor, but people sort of, I want to ask you questions about your lactate sensor, And to be honest with you, the lactate sensor, we've got two technologies. Sensors, technology you can buy off our website. So you want to do a proof of principle. Do you want electronics? Do you want a lactate sensor? Do you want a lactate formulation? Do you want microneedles? Do we need wire sensors? Yes, we have that. Yes, you can buy it. If you can follow the videos, then I say that then you're probably qualified to actually buy the material. If you're not able to qualify the video, watch the videos and understand the material, then you're not ready to really take that technology on. But we also then have what we call tier 1 technology, which is technology that has had 20 million euros invested in it. This is the stuff that we really have to kind of hold much tighter, and we use it with well-funded clients. We can't just have it on the web store. So that technology, I have to say, you're welcome to buy things off our web store when it comes to lactate continuous monitoring, but please don't then treat that like that's a product that you can go to market with. It's just for proof of principle. You're very welcome to buy it. I won't get in your way. But especially with commercial companies who try to buy it and then sort of treat it as if, well, I want to go to market with this. It's like, no, it's just for my academic colleagues so they can get going in the technology stack, but it's not intended for you to then go to market with. If you want that technology, please contact ZP, because we have some really well-funded or well-invested in technology, I should say. Something that we're doing as well is, I'm actually quite near Cambridge, UK, so we're actually doing a special webinar on our technology stack for our colleagues at Cambridge. So I suppose if you listen to the podcast and webinar and you kind of with a particular university, just know that we don't mind doing webinars and gearing them or tuning them to be specific and useful to your particular university and what they want to teach or the messages they want to get across there. So we are doing one for Cambridge University, but I would also just add that we're quite happy to do them for other institutions as well. So I think with that, I've gone through all the news for Zimmer Peacock for this week. Of course, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. A lot these days is around Sense It All and screen printed electrodes from Zimmer and Peacock, but of course happy to discuss other technologies as well. But that said, have a good week, and I'll speak to some of you in the week hopefully. Okay, take care. Bye bye.